Hey everyone, welcome back to the Lab Devos. Today we're talking about Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 and 9. This whole week we've been talking about a whole bunch of stuff all related to faith and grace. We're super excited to go into it. With me, of course, I have Miss Kelsey. So she is also one of our elementary coordinators. I'm sure you've seen her on all of our videos. She is fantastic, and she is something really sweet that we have found for you. But, of course, first thing we gotta do when we're talking about the book and the verse is to read the verse. So go ahead and find your Bible, flip to it, turn to it, whatever you need to do. Ephesians 2, Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8 and 9. That's what it says. For it is by grace you have been saved, through faith. And this is not from yourself, it is a gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. Even in those two verses, I find them really, really interesting. Like, what are you thinking, Kelsey? What jumps out to you when you read this?
Well, the thing that jumps out to me the most is how they talk about grace, and that grace is a gift, and it's a gift that we don't have to do anything for. And with that, there's nothing that we could do to ever lose that gift of God's grace. And, grace itself is it's such an amazing thing to think about. The amount of grace, like it's a never ending amount of grace that God shows everyone everywhere. And to me that's what jumps out most about these verses.
That's awesome. I know there's somebody, I've been seeing this verse go around, or this saying go around, that God's grace doesn't have a limit. You can't out mistake God's grace. That there's always time to be able to start again and say, God, I'm sorry, I don't understand, if you help me out again. Like, that's a constant gift. That's sweet. One thing that jumps out to me about this is the idea of a gift. Like, you mentioned it too, but it's like this idea that we don't have to work as hard to try and become close to God, because God wants us to come close already. Like, sometimes you see that where you feel like you have to work for it. You have to work and work and work and try and be this perfect person. Or like, oh, Christian means I have to follow all the different rules, and if I don't follow the rules, maybe I'll get kicked out of heaven. Well, like, that's not the case at all. I think of it kind of like a gift, and especially in here, when Paul writes it, he goes, all right, this is a gift. Like, this iPad is a big gift. As if a friend of yours has given it to you and said, this is yours. Or maybe if you don't want the iPad, there's a little bit of sheep. This little sheep here is your gift, and says, here you go. You get a sheep, you get a gift. And there's nothing that anybody could do to take that away from you. And sometimes I try and work and try and work and try and do all these good things to achieve this gift, and maybe like trying to earn something. But the thing is I already have the gift with me, and I'm trying to work to achieve something that's already been given to me, as long as I just receive it. But yeah, it's a really interesting thought, and to hear those ideas of grace and gift. What do you think is something that do you think that's something that you could learn more of as we continue to go forward? Like, is there anything else about grace that you would love to know more of as we go forward?
As I continue learning more and more about grace, I would like to learn how to show it better to the people around me. Right. Because the gift of grace is it's one that you receive, but it's one that you also give. And I know for me personally, I'm not always the best grace giver. So it's going to be a real challenge for me, and something I really have to learn on is to how to show grace to others, better.
That's a really awesome point. Well, Kelsey, thank you so much for joining us today as we've been talking about grace. And next week we have something super awesome, so make sure you tune in this Sunday as we talk a little bit more about other aspects of faith, and maybe even how you can show Jesus' love to others. But that's just a sneak preview, so who knows? You're going to have to see on Sunday. Kelsey, thank you so much. We'll see you all later.
Later!